Understanding Ransomware and Ransomware as a Service by Robert Kaiser, Samuel Halverson, and Seth Stovall. 1989 marked the first occurrence of a type of Trojan horse virus used to extort money out of people in exchange for access to their files. Dubbed the AIDS Trojan, it was handed out on 5¼ inch floppy disks at a WHO AIDS conference. The malware had a simple method. After a certain number of boots, it moved the victim's files into a hidden location and encrypted the file names. After the files were hidden, a warning about what had happened and the instructions to pay would be displayed. The AIDS Trojan was eventually found to be easy to bypass since the files were just hidden, and its creator, Dr. Joseph Pop, was caught and found mentally unfit to stand trial. The malware did mark the start of a concerning era in cyber attacks used for extortion. These attacks would soon be named ransomware, and they would not be as easy to defeat as this original AIDS Trojan. Ransomware is malware that encrypts a user's files so they can be extorted back to them for money. The malware can get into the victim's computer in a myriad of ways. For example, it might come from emails using social engineering to get you to open an attachment or go to a dangerous website, initial access brokers who already have access to vulnerable systems and just offer to share it, OS and software vulnerabilities such as missing security updates or out-of-date applications, or internal threats such as scorned lovers or angry employees. The malware isn't always used solo. It has been becoming more common for ransomware attacks to be in conjunction with data breaches. So during the initial attack, the system is infiltrated, files are stolen, the data is encrypted, the user is extorted for money to unlock their files, and then extorted again to not release sensitive information. These are just some known variants of ransomware. There's more that we know about, and even more than that we likely don't know about. The number of known ransomware variants is just constantly increasing. Some of these variants are REvil, Ryuk, which is one of the more recently concerning flavors. It's made a bit of a resurgence over the last year. Dharma, Phobos, WannaCry, which was responsible for one of the largest ransomware attacks that we know, Maze, and Wasted Locker. Ransomware as a service is basically the same type of malware as ransomware. It just has a better business model. Ransomware itself is normally created and then used by its respective hacking groups. The biggest of these changes to the distribution model is that ransomware as a service is sold by its creators, turning it into a product. The other main difference is that the target or the targets are selected by this third-party customer, and the third-party customer normally collects payments directly. The payment model for ransomware as a service is dependent on the variant and the group running it, but it's common to see it as a single-use product or a subscription base, like 1, 2, 3 month subscriptions like Spotify, or in some cases it's also offered in barter for things like skilled hacking. Finally, there may be differences in how an attack takes place compared to normal ransomware. The creators of the ransomware may accept the target from the customer and then launch the attack themselves, or they'll provide a interface for their customer to tailor the piece of malware to whatever target they want to hit. These are some examples of ransomware used as a service. As you can see, some of these are repeated from the slide with examples of regular ransomware, such as Ryuk. These repeats are ransomware variants that have been converted to this as a service model of distribution. Again, these aren't all of the known or unknown variants of ransomware as a service. These examples are REvil, Ryuk, Satan, Philadelphia, Dharma or Phobos, Stampato, and Ransom32. And on the right is an image from the Dharma Rootkit's user GUI given to subscription affiliates. Some statistical facts about ransomware and ransomware as a service. The average ransomware payout by companies has increased 30% from the second quarter of 2020. And this is on the tail of the previous 30-ish% increase from the first quarter. So the amount companies are willing to pay to return their data is expected to continue to skyrocket. And this is all visualized in the chart from Cover on the left. The average payment was at $233,000 in the third quarter of 2020, and the average damages large companies see is around $761,000. There are way more ransom attacks than you would expect. Since 2016, there's been more than 4,000 attacks a day, and this number is steadily increasing as ransomware becomes more accessible via ransomware as a service. Nobody is really safe from these attacks. In 2020, 51% of all businesses were affected by some kind of ransomware attack, kind of making it a crapshoot whether you were potentially a victim. Finally, the largest known attack was in 2017, the WannaCry virus. It infected over 200,000 devices in 150 countries, and the estimated loss was around $4 billion. This is a current attack on the Acer computer manufacturer. It happened on March 21st of this year. Their system was breached by the REvil ransomware. As of now, the attack isn't known to be resolved. Acer still has a few of its 8 days left to respond to the attackers. If they don't respond, they plan on increasing the required payment by $100 million. It's suspected the attack was due to a 0-day in the Microsoft Exchange server that Acer uses for company email. And below is an image of the darknet pay page for the attack. When it comes to malware, and especially ransomware, there are some tactics and best practices you can use to protect yourself from being targeted. First and foremost is knowledge or training. Especially for businesses, employee onboarding, at least proper annual training is paramount to ensuring your employees understand the threat and risk ransomware poses and how to operate safely in a business environment. For your personal computer, you should make the best effort you can to know what the common vectors of attack are, such as email phishing. Frequent backups can save you a lot of headaches. This goes for business and personal files. The commonly accepted best practice is 321, which is 3 copies, 2 different media, with 1 copy off-site. And if you want to be extra safe, double up your off-site backups into 2 different locations, 1 physical and 1 in the cloud. It should go without saying, but keeping your OS and software up to date with security updates. For businesses, deploying an email screening service can weed out quite a bit of phishing attacks. For both businesses and personal use, don't open email attachments or links if you don't know who they come from. Keep up to date on current threats. This can be difficult because there's a lot of current threats, but a best effort here can help you focus your concern and security effort. You could potentially get cyber insurance, but it's expensive and not 100% coverage. Finally, limit remote desktop usage to what is necessary. Necessary may mean a lot of access, so ensure security settings are properly set up. Having a plan to prevent an attack is fantastic, but with 51% of businesses being targeted, that's not always going to be the reality of the situation. And as you know, you can't protect your system from everything. These are some general steps you can take if you suffer from a ransomware attack. First of all, it's important to document everything you can. Take screenshots, take notes. No bit of info is too small. You never know what you're going to need when it comes to the future for remediation. Turning off the computer may seem like an obvious response to stop the attack, but don't do it. There may be useful information held in memory, and you don't know if restarting the computer is just going to restart the virus attack. Instead, you want to disconnect any affected computers from the network so that the malware can't contact its command and control center. And you want to try and find patient 0 and make sure that computer's not connected to anything. Copy your files onto another clean medium. Potentially find a way to decrypt them or save unencrypted information in a safer environment, such as a sandboxed VM. Check your backups for infection. Some ransomware can hibernate for months without attacking, potentially putting it in some of your backups. But if you take proper backups, there's a good chance you could potentially get your files back. Find and close any vulnerability used to attack your system. This step can be difficult, and it may require the help of professional security organizations that are trained to identify and remove ransomware. So you might have to spend a little bit of money. Finally, you want to contact your local FBI field office to let them know you've been attacked. They like to know this kind of thing. It helps them potentially identify who deployed the malware or if it's a new variant. Remediation steps to return your current hardware to a safe state can vary depending on the flavor of ransomware you have. So don't expect to fix every ransomware attack the same, and don't expect every guide you see on the internet to fix it to be valid for your situation. You've seen statistics in these slides that show a pretty stark view of how ransomware attacks and damage are quickly increasing. One of the industries that was targeted quite heavily last year was education. Between quarter 2 and quarter 3 of 2020, the education sector ransomware attacks increased about 388%. Why was the education sector targeted so much more heavily last year compared to other years? Was it strictly because of virtual schooling due to COVID and the increase in targets? It's important to ask yourself questions like this and seek the answer, as ransomware it's a threat not just to businesses, but to you, your family, and your friends as well. These are the references used in this presentation if you want to read a bit more into some of this information. With ransomware and ransomware as a service being such a large concern, there's a lot of resources available online, and you should definitely read into it. Thank you very much.